Hey everybody, how y'all doing this evening? I know, I'm very late today. I know I've been doing it every morning, but I told y'all before I was going to try to do at least one every day, and I couldn't do it this morning because I had a lot of work to do. My uncle got here bright and early, and we've been working all day trying to get this water in. Anyway, and we got a lot of work, we got a lot done. But that's why I wasn't able to get the message out this morning because he got here so early and he interrupted me. So I said, things winding down tonight, might as well do the message. The Lord wanted me to, I guess. I'm sure he does. If the mosquitoes don't eat me up, we're going to get this message out on 2 Kings 20, chapter 20. We're nearing the end of 2 Kings. We're still talking about Hezekiah. So, that's a pretty good story too about these two pivotal events in his life. You know, Hezekiah is the king of Judah, of course, and this takes place toward the latter end of his reign, and the story illustrates divine intervention through prayer and the reality of miraculous power and enduring danger of human pride and its consequences. The title of the message is Hezekiah, Trusting God in Prayer and Vigilance and Wisdom, 2 Kings 20. So, what we come upon is this story about Hezekiah. He becomes sick, and he becomes very ill. He has some kind of condition, or some kind of boil or something. It must be some kind of infection of some type, where it's like a boil, and he has an infection, and he's very sick. He's sick to the point of death. This is a mortal illness, and Isaiah comes to him, and he delivers this message to him direct from God, and he tells Hezekiah, he says, you need to set your house in order. He says, set your house in order, for you shall die. You shall not live. You're going to die. So, you need to get things in order and set your house in order, because, you're not going to live much longer. You're just going to die. And this, this, we all have our time, and when it comes our time, it's our time, and then God says, this is it, this is it. That's what he said with Hezekiah. It was pretty much, this illness was fixing to take him, and it was going to be it. And this illustrates his sovereignty. God is sovereign, and what he says, it says. It is, Our time is up, our time is up. But Hezekiah, not wanting to die, of course, and no one, being faithful. It says that he does this passionate prayer. It says he turns his face to the wall. It says Hezekiah just turns over and he looks at the wall and he just starts praying to God. He's just talking to nobody but God. And they say he was weeping profusely. He was crying his heart out in this prayer. Staring at the wall, crying his heart out in this prayer to God. Talking to nobody but God. And crying his heart out. And he basically just tells God, I've been faithful. And, please, help me. Oh, sorry, my hair is a mess right now. I've been working hard today. I just took a shower. Anyway, he tells this prayer, and he says, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth, and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. So he's just reminding God, I've been faithful, and he's asking God for help, and he's weeping. This is an example of a surrender when somebody surrenders. Ah, hush. They're surrendering everything to God. They're just weeping their heart out to the Lord. And he's asking for mercy. God gives him mercy. And this shows that he's being repentant, and he's offering this sincere prayer up to God in repentance. And even though he's been faithful, and he's trying to make this plea for mercy to God. And as he does, at this point, Isaiah has left, and he's leaving, and as Hezekiah is making this prayer, and before Isaiah gets, it says the middle court, which means that before he was too far away. He wasn't even out of the court of the king. He wasn't. He said it was in the middle court, and it was like he wasn't even out of the house. Let's put it this way: he hadn't even left yet, and he's turned around by God, saying, God tells him to go back and tell Hezekiah, give him another message. So this prayer that Hezekiah prayed changed God's mind. God had divinely decreed that Hezekiah was to die from this illness, and Hezekiah prayed this prayer so earnestly, it touched God's heart, and God changed his mind. And people don't think that that's the power of prayer. Prayer can turn a lot of things around. So he tells him to say, I have heard your prayer, and I have seen your tears. And he tells him, I'm going to give you 15 more years to your life. I'm going to give you 15 more years. One prayer. He prayed his heart out to the Lord, and the Lord gave him 15 more years because of that prayer. And he also promised him he was going to deliver Jerusalem from the king of Syria. But he was doing that primarily because of David, and because of the covenant with David. But he gave Hezekiah 15 more years because he prayed. So he promised these two things: I'm going to give you 50 more years, and I'm going to deliver Israel. And Isaiah then says, tells them they're making this cake of figs. I guess it's kind of like some kind of poultice, like kind of thing. It's a cake of figs. It's a medicinal thing that they make, and they put it on the boil. And when they put this on the boil, and Hezekiah recovers. So this part of the story shows that how God works through. God can heal us miraculously. He can heal. Doesn't mean the Lord wasn't in it. There's miraculous healings happen all the time where nobody's hand was in it as well. But he works different ways. This part of the story shows, just because you're praying, doesn't mean you take a medicine too. And just because you take a medicine, don't mean you shouldn't be praying. You gotta do them both. And, so then, Hezekiah asked for a sign, asking Isaiah for a sign, that he would be healed. So I need you give me a sign that I'm going to be healed. And I know he asked for a sign because he wanted a confirmation that one who's going to be healed. But just like as I said, when I was healed, when the Lord works. And I believe Hezekiah knew that he was healed, but he just wanted a confirmation of it. Because when I was in the hospital, and when I knew I was healed, I was healed when I knew it the day it happened. Just like when I got my victory from this last battle, I knew the day it happened. You can feel it, and the Lord tells you. So he asked for a sign that he'd be healed, and so God offered a choice of which sign he wanted. What did he want? Because God will give you what you need to believe. If you have a doubt, you ask God, show me what I need to believe. God will show you. He'll give you what you need. You need it. He'll give you the sign that you need. He'll give you the proof that you need. So God offered him a choice, and he said the shadow. There was a sundial. It was like they're called the dial of Ahaz, and it was that they would use to tell the time, seasons, or whatever. It was like a sundial, and it's called the sundial of Ahaz. And he said the shadow could advance 10 steps or move back 10 steps. Do you want the shadow to go forward 10 steps or back 10 steps? The sun, it's a sundial. It works off the sun. Sun shadow of sun. So for the sundial to immediately move forward or backward 10 steps, either way, the sun had to move quickly for this to happen. The sun had to move. Either way, it's a miracle. It's miraculous. Forward or backward. So Hezekiah said the more difficult sign would be for it to go backward instead of forward. In his mind, that's what he needed to believe. It wouldn't have been no further forward or backward the sign that the sun moved and the shadow advanced or would move back. But for Hezekiah, he needed it to go backward. And so God did it. He made it go backward. And this is a sign that confirmed the reliability of God's word and his power over the laws of nature. He can move the sun in an instant. That thing could dance around the sky any minute if he wanted it to. So, anyway, I just thought that was a little interesting part of the story that, he gave Hezekiah what he needed to believe. So, then the second half of this chapter, we come to a point that says after Hezekiah has been sick, he's been ill, he's just arrived near-death experience. And of course, this is he's won a battle. It's a victory over his battle. But during this time while he was sick, the king of Babylon, Merodach Baladan, the king of Babylon had sent some envoys and gifts to him to congratulate him on recovery. They heard of his recovery. He was sick, and he had recovered, and this miraculous recovery had, obviously, people had heard of it, so the king of Babylon heard about it. They sent envoys and gifts to him, and it's like, oh, we're so grateful that you've recovered. So great that you have recovered. But it's kind of thought that it was kind of this trying to say, hey, we're so happy that you're better, was kind of a way to a cover for being able to gauge their military might and the potentials of allies and all that. It was military strategy. Political and military strategy. So they were trying to get some information. It was intelligence gathering or whatever. But so they go to Hezekiah, and of course Hezekiah does something that is not very wise. See, this is the thing. These Babylonians, it's like the devil, You fight that battle and you get that victory, and right afterwards, if you let your guard down, he's gonna come at you with something, and he's gonna try to trip you up. He's gonna try to get you in a trap. You can't let pride lead you to think, hey, I just done this and now I'm invincible or something, and let you get your guard down, and because he's fixing to come, and he's fixing to try to trap you and trip you up, especially after you've fought a battle and you've won a victory, because he ain't too happy about it. He don't want you doing anything advancing for the Lord, so he's gonna come at you even harder after the battle than he did during. So that's the time for even, greater vigilance. But, of course, Hezekiah, he let this flattery get to his head, and, of course, he'd been through a lot, and he had a moment of weakness, and he did something that wasn't very wise. And he goes in there and shows these envoys everything that he has. He shows them all his silver, all his gold, all his spices, all his precious oil, his armory, everything. He's been, oh yeah, look what I got. Because they're playing on his, they're really, puffing him up. They're like, oh, you're just a great king, and you've recovered this miraculous, and the Lord's blessed you. But you can just see they're just, building him up, and they were just doing it just to gather intelligence. And so he exposed all his wealth and his vulnerabilities to a future power in so doing, in this moment of, him watch who you gotta watch who you trust. You gotta watch who you bring close. You gotta watch what, you tell everybody you have business. You might be telling the devil something you don't need to know. You're exposing yourself to the enemy. They come in there acting like they was friends. They was the enemy all along. He exposed himself to them, thinking they was trying to be his friend. So Isaiah confronts Hezekiah and asks him, who are these men and what did they see? Because Isaiah knows God done told him, Hezekiah done messed up. He done messed up. And so Isaiah comes in and says, who are these men and what have they saw? He's pretty like, what are you doing, Hezekiah? You don't even know these people. Who are they? And you brought them in here, and what have they seen? They've seen it all. And so Hezekiah admits that he showed them everything, which reveals his lapse in judgment and his reliance on earthly displays of wealth rather than God's protection. He slipped up in a moment of weakness, and he made a little slip up, and he got prideful. He let that pride goes before the fall. He started boasting, and he let them get in his head. And he made some unwise decisions. And so, because of this, Isaiah delivered God's judgment. He made a prophecy, and he said, behold, the days are coming when all that is in your house shall be carried to Babylon, and nothing shall be left. And that he also told him that some of his own descendants would be taken as eunuchs to serve in the Babylonian royal palace. And all this did come to pass. This was a foreshadowing of the prophecy from what come to pass with the Babylonian exile. And the Babylonian exile that happened, it links this incident with Hezekiah's pride and his lack of judgment and this slip that he made directly to Judah's ultimate downfall, because when they were exiled through Babylon, because you can't let your guard down with the devil. And so, and in the process of this, Hezekiah's like, well, this is good. This is good. This is good, but because at least it ain't gonna happen while I'm alive. As long as we got peace and security while I'm alive, I ain't worried about it. What happens in the future don't concern me. That he was selfish. Pride leads to selfishness and short-sightedness. He got that pride welled up in him, and then he got caught in a trap, and it wasn't going to affect him. It was going to affect his future generations. And then he was like, well, it didn't matter. I'll be dead. And we're talking about the faithful king, the king that's so faithful, and that God had done answered prayers for. The king that wept with his face to the wall, asking for mercy, and God gave him 50 more years. He didn't care about his descendants. So the chapter concludes with a brief summary of his good deeds and notable how he constructed a conduit and a pool to bring water into Jerusalem, which is called Hezekiah's Tunnel. He constructed this big waterway so they would have water. And then he died, and of course Manasseh succeeded him. And Manasseh, this set the stage for one of Judah's most wicked reigns, and the ultimate fulfillment of the Babylonian prophecy, which is where they went into exile. Because Manasseh, as we're going to see, no good thing came during this time. And so ultimately, this chapter uh, talks about divine intervention, human failure, promised judgment, and relates to the larger biblical narrative by pointing toward the gospel of Jesus Christ, because it reinforces the Old Testament's central tension and the necessity of the Messiah, um, highlighting God's covenant faithfulness and through God's decision to extend Hezekiah's life and protect Jerusalem. He just demonstrated his steadfast mercy and commitment to the covenant established with David. Despite the king's temporary failings, this unwavering faithfulness set the stage for the coming of the promised Messiah. It also highlights the incompleteness of earthly kings, since Hezekiah was one of the best kings. But yet he ultimately failed through pride and short-sightedness. Um, this shows that no human king is perfect, even a righteous one. And, you know, so there was a need for a superior king. One who's not merely an extension of a current human lineage, but was truly divine. And that's why it points to Christ, because he succeeds where Hezekiah failed. He perfectly submitted to the Father's will and demonstrated true humility and brought eternal peace, not just peace and security in his own days, but um, he's the ultimate fulfillment of the promise of healing and deliverance for all time. So this is foreshadow. Most of the stories are all foreshadowings of that point to Jesus. Everything in the Bible points to him eventually. Pretty much when it comes down to it, because it's all prophecy. So regarding spiritual growth, this story highlights, of course, the power of earnest prayer, how our prayers have power to reverse the divine decrees and change God's mind. So that's why we should be persistent and sincere in our prayers, so that that's when we are, God hears us. And then of course vigilance after a victory. We gotta stay vigilant, that we can't let that pride well up in us, especially after we receive something like a miraculous healing or deliverance, and it's a common pitfall. A lot of people have fallen into that trap, and it's a spiritual complacency that we can't afford if we're going to experience God's greatest blessings. We have to recognize that deliverance from one trial doesn't remove us from the threat of a temptation of the next. We're always being tested. We always got to be on guard. And of course, this also shows how important humility is. We have to stay humble. We can't want to please people. That's what Hezekiah did. He thought these big guys was going to be his friends, and he was going to please these people. He was showing them all their wealth, and they was the enemy coming in there. So, we can't put a human glory, our own glory, over the glory of the Lord. We have to stay humble. can't rely on earthly means. Um, Spiritual growth requires absolute reliance on God rather than our own achievements or possessions. And it also highlights that, we should be concerned about posterity. Hezekiah's response to the prophecy of being, he was content that the judgment wasn't going to affect him personally. And that was selfish. He had a lack of concern for the future of God's people. Not just his own family, but God's people as a whole. Had a lack of concern. And spiritual maturity requires that we look beyond our own lifespan. And we invest in the spiritual well-being of the future generations, not just of our own lineage, but of God's people as a whole, and pursue justice and righteousness, even if full blessings are enjoyed by others, even if the blessing doesn't come to us personally. When we're working our vigilance and our everything we're saying, we're so, well, we're wanting the blessings to come. Yes, we would love the blessings to come on us personally. We would love to see the blessings in our lifetime. But the blessings may not come on us personally. It may become the future generations of God's people. Just like the apostles and the prophets, a first century church, the disciples, Jesus' disciples, they didn't see the full fruition of the promised blessings. I mean, they received they received blessings, but they didn't receive the same blessings that the future generations have received. And the church itself is not become completely matured either. So the fullness of the blessings have not been fulfilled even yet. But that does not mean that we have to stop being vigilant and working toward those blessings as if they were our own, as if we were going to see them in our lifetime. Because it's not up to us. It's God's timing. We have our reward. When we go home, that's what we got to look at. Whether we get blessed here or whether we get blessed there, we're going to get blessed. But God actually promises both, but they might not look like what we think they're going to look like. Hezekiah didn't realize how much blessings he did get. He got 15 extra years. I'll say that's a good blessing. But he should have been worrying about the future generations, whether they was going to be blessed or not, too. Because I guarantee he would have wanted his ancestors to worry about his. If they hadn't, he might not have got as many blessings as he did. So, anyway. But that's all, I guess, for tonight. Those lights done come on. And mosquitoes are coming out full force. And they're trying to eat me alive. So, I guess I'm going to get off here tonight. And I will try to see y'all back here in the morning. I love y'all. Y'all have a good night.